In this video, I'll be covering regulating the NH35 movement and troubleshooting as part of a series on building your own watch. I'll also briefly show and discuss the importance of proper rotor alignment when replacing the rotor according to Seiko recommendations. I'll also go over hand setting challenges, which can also affect how well your watch runs or if it runs at all. And finally, I'll provide you with my final thoughts about the Namoki product line. Now here's a brief background behind the movement's regulating system. Around the mid-1970s, ETA, or ETA, introduced the Edocron fine regulating system to their Swiss movements, notably the ETA 2824, among others. This allowed for easier regulation of the beat rate and made regulating adjustments easier and more precise. In 2011, Seiko began using the Etachron regulating system in their 4R or NH movements, and although these Seiko movements are not as refined as their Swiss counterparts, this upgrade, along with the ability to hack these newer movements, was a huge improvement from previous Seiko movements, such as the 7S or 4R movements that were made prior to 2011. Now this Seiko 5 of mine is consistently hanging out at less than plus 10 seconds a day, not bad for a basic movement. And so, without wasting any more time, let's get to work. Now for a complete technical data sheet for the Seiko 4R movement and other resources, please visit our website at watchhobbychannel.com. The technical data sheet will provide you with more details and information about parts, information for finer adjustments and repairs, among other valuable information. The first step to regulating your watch is to adjust the settings on your Timegrapher. Now these Timegrapher models are sufficient for most hobbyists, and you can find these on Amazon, often for less than $150. I'll put a link in the description below. The main setting you need to adjust on your Timegrapher is the lift angle. These Timegraphers default to a lift angle of 52, and you want a lift angle of 53 for the NH movement. Now you can see here that the watch I put together in part 2 of this series is running around 130 to about 150 plus seconds a day, depending on its position. Now we want these two lines on the screen to be close together and as straight across as possible. If the lines are angled up or down, then the watch will show that it's running either too fast or too slow. The beat area is good, but I'm going to throw it out of adjustment just for this demonstration. The amplitude is also in line for an NH35 movement. There are up to 6 positions that you can regulate a watch at. This graph shows the positions according to the COSC certification standard. To demonstrate the positions, you have the watch face up, the watch face down, the watch position at the 3 o'clock or crown up, the watch at the 6 o'clock position or crown to the left, and the 9 o'clock position crown down, and then the 12 o'clock position or crown right rather. The reason why you may want to consider using the position of the hour markers versus the crown position is that some watches have their crown in a different location, such as this Seiko 5 for example. Seiko recommends you regulate the watch in 3 positions. This would include watch face up, the watch at the 6 o'clock position at top or crown left, and the watch at the 9 o'clock position at the top or crown down. When you start to make your adjustments, you start by adjusting the beat rate. This will have an effect on the speed. you want your beat error to be less than 1 millisecond, and you want your beat error to be as close to 0 as possible. The Edocron regulating system has the ability to correct the beat error in a similar way you can adjust the timing or speed of the watch when using the regulating arm. The adjustment is done via a stud where the hairspring is secured to the balance assembly. Now here you can see that I've thrown the beat error out of adjustment, and you can also see how it has changed the rate or the speed. I'll make tiny adjustments by moving the stud either clockwise or counterclockwise. And once I'm satisfied with the beat rate or beat error, I'll next adjust the speed or the rate via the regulating arm and follow a similar process. When you are adjusting the speed, you're essentially adjusting the length of the hairspring. Shortening the hairspring will increase the speed, and lengthening the hairspring will decrease the speed. And in this NH35 movement, I'll make tiny adjustments moving the regulator arm either counterclockwise or clockwise to adjust the speed. Now you can see that I'm getting there, but I still have some more work to do. I want to fine-tune the performance of the watch as much as possible. Now I may need to make several adjustments back and forth to get the results I want, and I'll make these adjustments for each of the 3 positions I mentioned earlier. So in the end, I don't want a variance in the speed between the 3 positions of more than plus or minus 10 seconds, at least according to the Seiko spec sheet. Swiss movements, on the other hand, are generally going to require far less variance between the different positions. So after some back and forth, I think I'm happy with what I have so far. I may play around with it a little bit more for finer tuning, but the range between each of the positions are within Seiko specs, and an average of 8 seconds a day isn't bad at all for just doing some basic adjustments. I'll do further testing by hacking the watch to an atomic time source and seeing where it lands after 24 hours, with the watch facing upwards as recommended by Seiko. And then I'll do this again in a sort of real world setting as my wife wears the watch over the course of a day, and then comparing it to an atomic time source after roughly 24 hours. Now that we've looked at regulation, let's move on to another crucial aspect of watch maintenance, rotor replacement. Here are those decorative screws I was telling you about in part 2, and as you can see, I've already removed the rotor for this demonstration. When replacing the rotor, Seiko recommends aligning the first reduction wheel to the rotor placement. I didn't really demonstrate that to you very well in part 2, and I wanted to make sure that I provided you with the necessary information related to installing a rotor in order for you to get the best results. Now I'm going to stick to the down and dirty of this, but there's another YouTuber that really did a fantastic job demonstrating in great detail why this is important. I didn't want to copy what he has already done a great job at, so I'll have a link in the description below for those who are interested. To start, you want to align the hole to the first reduction wheel to the peg for the balance cock. Next, align your rotor as demonstrated. As you can see here on the original rotor, there is a notch or a curved area that you can use to align with the peg. You want to do this to ensure your watch winds effectively, appropriately, and efficiently with the automatic winding. As I mentioned earlier, if you want to learn more about this, check out the link in the description below that I had mentioned earlier. We've discussed rotor replacement. Now let's move on to hand setting issues that can affect the performance of your watch. Some problems related to how well your watch will run, especially after a watch build or watch mod, can be related to the hands. And if you're finding that your watch is not keeping good time, or it seems to stop either intermittently or altogether, it could be a problem with the hands. If the hands are bent and or scraping against the dial or each other, or the second hand is not installed properly, though it may appear to be, these issues will cause the watch to stop keeping proper time or stop altogether. It's important to ensure that the hands have enough clearance in between them. So first test that your hands all move freely and with enough clearance. The other thing that could happen, if you're not careful, is the inner pin can become bent or broken when attempting to place the second hand. And if that happens, well, that presents with a whole other problem, such as a repair or replacement of the movement depending on your skill level. So really take your time when placing the second hand and don't get overly aggressive so not to break something in the process. Now if you find that the hands are touching each other or scraping along the dial, you can gently lift up or press down like so. However, I found that if you're not careful, you can end up flipping the hand completely off the dial, or if not that, they could become out of place, even though they appear to be installed on the canyon pinion. So while doing these adjustments, I like to gently hold down at the point where the hands are set in the center, just to help avoid that issue. And yes, I know, my tweezers need some maintenance. I also found sometimes that I can use my hand setting tool to make minor adjustments like so. Just be careful not to be overly aggressive as not to break the canyon pinion in the process. There is another watch YouTuber that made a great video on hand setting that I suggest you check out. I really like his approach, and I'll have a link in the description below for those who are interested. When setting the second hand, to ensure it's set correctly, and in order to see what you're doing, you may need to position yourself at eye level with the movement, like so. I don't have the ability yet to film this at eye level, so I had to film this in a really awkward position under my microscope in order to give you the visual I wanted to provide for you. Now here's another way to visualize this. If this is my workbench or table, and this is me, I like to position myself at eye level so I can more easily visualize placing the second hand. Let's make our table a little taller. To make my job easier, I found a stool I like that sits low enough so that I can be at the optimal position while working on watchmaking, modding, or repair projects. For me personally, setting the second hand is one of those skills that fits into the needs improvement category. But in all seriousness, every watch modder will tell you that second hand placement is definitely one of the most challenging aspects of building a watch. It just requires patience and practice. Now here are my final thoughts about the Namoki product line. I think the overall quality of the product is decent and what you can expect at this price point. I realize you can find similar products for less money on places such as AliExpress and sometimes on eBay. But the challenge, especially if you're just starting out, is figuring out if the individual parts you are finding and sourcing will all fit or work together. With Namoki, it's all figured out for you. You know that the movement, case, dial, and hands will all fit and work together appropriately, and one can expect to pay a premium for that convenience. Namoki also has a large selection of case, dial, and hand designs that will allow you to experiment with a variety of watch design projects. Now, besides the products featured in this series, I've purchased other products from Namoki, and I haven't had any issues, and so far I've been fairly satisfied. Visit our website or YouTube channel for more information and resources. Thanks for watching. Thank you for your support. Until next time.